Topping today's news, Prime Minister Davis says nothing has changed between the government and the Grand Bahama Port Authority in regards to that $350 million. The Prime Minister also gives a timeline for the Bahamas Power and Light deal completion, and we hear from a passenger from last week's emergency landing of a flight to Andros. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It is a pleasure to have you join us. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Philip Davis was seen interacting with Rupert Hayward, the Executive Director of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, at a recent $665 million contract signing in Grand Bahama to redevelop and expand the Grand Bahama shipyard. While taking questions from the media on Thursday, Prime Minister Davis was asked if he had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Hayward about the government's demand of $357 million, which the Port Authority says it does not owe a dime. Before answering the question, Mr. Davis wanted to make one thing clear about the heads of agreement signing that he was attending in relation to the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
Don't conflate the signing of the heads of agreement in respect to the expansion of the port with the Port Authority itself. That's two separate issues. The port is the shipyard, that is where they are extending their ability to, well, first of all, it was damaged during Dorian. They've been trying to rebuild from that time. And in their rebuilding, they just decided to expand it to be, well, to have the largest shipyard dock in the world there in Grand Bahama. So that's something separate from any issue I have with the Port Authority as the Port Authority. In respect to the Port Authority, we've had no further conversations with them. All I can say is at this time is that the process for the resolving of dispute between ourselves has been engaged and is continuing.
Following a detailed audit by the PricewaterhouseCoopers Group in March of this year, the government sent the Grand Bahama Port Authority an invoice for $357 million covering the last 5 fiscal years. The matter is now under arbitration after the Port Authority once again says it owes nothing and the 30-day notification has come and gone. There has been a lot of conversation surrounding the government's deal between Bahamas Power and Light and Pike Corporation out of the United States. The talk has largely been the fact that there is not much information regarding the details of the deal, which has caused concern for quite a few people like employees at BPL and opposition parties. At the office of the Prime Minister's press briefing on Thursday, Prime Minister Davis explained the deal will soon be completed and details will be shared with the public.
We have about another week before it's completely finalized. The fundamental structures have been agreed upon, and it's just the operational details that are now being worked on. For example, we would want some what I call key performance indicators included in the operational agreement, i.e., if you achieve achievement, let's say, for example, on the transmission lines, it is indicated that we'll have at least a 30% savings that we should see passing on to consumers. So that is the representation. So, for example, we'd want that as a KPI. So if that is not achieved, then what will be the consequences? Those are some of the details we are talking about that is across all of the gamut of this arrangement. So we're making sure that whatever we do, at the end of the day, it is the Bahamian people and the consumers that are benefiting. And so those details are still being worked out, hopefully by the end of this week. Tomorrow's the end of the week, but by next week, we should be able to indicate that it has been done. And in the appropriate time, we will be, of course, passing on making sure that the details which is required for the public will be made public.
The government first announced the deal with Pike Corporation in May of this year. Pike Corporation and its Bahamas subsidiaries, Bahamas Grid Company, has been tasked with improving BPL's transmission and distribution infrastructure on New Providence with the hope of more reliable and affordable electricity. The government will also implement the use of liquefied natural gas to produce cleaner and cheaper electricity here in the capital. A week has passed since the six-seater Aztec twin-engine charter airplane was forced to ditch in waters some 8 miles off the western coast of New Providence, resulting in 2 of the 6 people on board perishing before they could be rescued. As investigations into this incident is still in its early stages, initial reports indicate that the flight left New Providence for San Andreas Airport but was unable to land because of poor visibility, bad weather, and was forced to return to New Providence when one of the engines experienced trouble, forcing the pilot to ditch the airplane. Takeo Pickstock, one of the 5 passengers on board that flight, gave JCN a detailed account of what took place.
When I was about to say something to the pilot, he made an announcement to let us know, like, hey, I'm losing power in the left engine, and he don't know how far he's going to make it, but he's going to try to make it close to Nassau as possible. But in the case of in this emergency, he wanted to brief us to put on our life jackets and to be ready. He didn't try to alarm us in no way for anyone to be scared. He tried to keep everybody as calm as possible.
Pickstock, who is a young businessman, says it was a routine business trip for him. He explained that prior to engine issues, the pilot tried to make contact with airport personnel for assistance with runway lights at the San Andreas Airport, but there was no response. Pickstock also said while the pilot did an excellent job of ditching the aircraft, waiting for rescuers to arrive seems like it took a very long time.
He radioed and he tried to get them to turn on the light. I don't know what was happening on the ground, but he made a few circles, giving them time to actually cut on the light. But after that, and being under such rainy weather conditions that we was facing at the same time, he made the decision to head back to Nassau. After ditching the plane, I was like the first person out of the door and in the water, and everybody was able to successfully exit the plane. I would say about, I know it was over an hour. It had to been more than an hour that we was in the water. I can't say, but I would say an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We could have been out there floating.
Mr. Pickstock wanted to share the following message with the public as he is grateful for having survived the horrifying ordeal that saw 87-year-old Alan Russell, a long-time taxi driver from Los San Andreas, and Emma McQueen, who was traveling to Andreas for her mother's funeral. They both died in the incident.
What I'd like to say to the people out there listening, wherever you are, wherever you may be, or whatever you may be doing, in the good, the bad, and the ugly, stop where you are and pray and give God thanks, because some of us move in our life every day, and I thank God that He was able to spare minds.
There has been no official statement on the matter, as investigations, like we said, they're still early into their proceedings. And finally, in this segment, if you are a visitor to the Bahamas or have friends and family visiting and they are not ready to leave our beautiful little country, although their time has expired, it is important for you to know that the Bahamas Department of Immigration has issued a notice on its policy for visitor extension of stay. Effective this past Wednesday, September 18th, the Department of Immigration has implemented a new $200 non-refundable processing fee for all visitors applying for an extension of stay. For more information on the necessary documents, you need to contact the Department of Immigration so you can remain in the country lawfully for an extended period of time. You're listening to JCN News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.